today's event. I'm so excited to stitch out some more patterns with you guys. I have 3 very cool patterns today. We are doing a dog bandana and matching leash. We are doing an Easter basket, and we are doing a Japanese not bad. I am so excited to do this with you guys. This is my second event with you guys, and I'm so excited that I was asked back to do this. I have so much fun doing these patterns with you guys. These projects are perfect for the beginner or the person who's just trying to, get the hang of sewing. These patterns are so easy. Before we get into the different stitch outs, I'm going to show you guys on the website how to find the patterns, different patterns that they offer, how to get there, how to download it, how to print it, the whole 9. So get ready. I hope you guys are excited for today. I also have a discount code for you guys today, so make sure you use Kayla23 for 50% off select patterns, and let's just go ahead and get started. Here we are on the main site, and we are going to look at how everything is now categorized on the site. There's a couple different ways you can navigate this site. You can either go up here to the search bar and type in exactly what you're looking for, crochet patterns, or if you even know the designer of the pattern you're looking for, you can type it in up there. But one thing that Embroidery Designs has done is categorized everything for you. So you can either go over here to shop by department and go down to sewing PDF patterns, and then you can click on any of these links that you need, or we can go over here to this drop down menu right here on the main menu, and it will show us new PDF patterns, top selling PDF patterns, or crochet PDF patterns. Now I'm going to click on new PDF patterns. And I really like how they categorize the different top selling, the new, and then by what type of pattern it is. Like over here, you can go to click on sewing PDF patterns, and it will give you just the sewing ones. You can unclick that, and if you are into making your own clothes, you can narrow it down that way, which I think is really nice. And then you can unclick that, and if you're into crochet or knitting, you can categorize it by looking at just these patterns. So I really like how they have broken this down for you and made it really easy to find different things. Now, if we go back up to the sewing patterns menu, let's click on top selling. So what I just showed you was just the new PDF patterns. These are their top sellers, and I love that they have this big green banner right here to show you which one is popular right now. If you guys joined me for my last event, we did these bowl cozies and these joggers and this sewing mat. Those are all still top sellers, great projects, but there's other ones that I even have my eye on right now. These winter mittens are so cute. Christmas is over, but these are really cute stockings for your pets. So many different things on here that are top sellers, very, very popular, can be very much so customized to you and your needs and your aesthetic and everything like that. And then again, you can go up here, filter it down even more. If you just do crochet, you can, oh my gosh, look at these ducks. These flowers are really cute. Those would make a great Mother's Day gift. So make sure you check out all of the different links on here and really navigate their website and really check out their menus with their different navigations that they have. They are adding new patterns all the time, which is why I really like to go to this new PDF patterns one often, because they are adding so many new patterns all the time, whether it be sewing or crochet or knitting or whatever, they are adding new ones all the time. So make sure you check out that new PDF pattern tab often to make sure you don't miss out on any cool new patterns. So let's go over the patterns that we're going to do today. These are not necessarily in the order that we're going to be doing them in today's video, but the first pattern we're going to go over is this Easter basket. This is so stinking cute. I love that the ears are optional. I love that you have the choice to do a color block. It comes in 2 different sizes. It comes in a small and a large. You can see they put cute little bunnies in there, and they also have some customer photos. Let me go ahead and show you what the Easter basket pattern looks like just on the PDF instructions that come with it. Beautiful color photos, just like last time if you joined me for the last event. If you didn't, this is going to be a great thing for you to know. All of these patterns come with beautiful, beautiful full color instructions. A lot of them have color step-by-step instructions. This pattern is absolutely beautiful. I love that it has in big red letters. Only use this if you're making the color block one. That way you don't get messed up when you're putting your pattern together. Now this one is the dog leash and matching bandana. This I love. I think it is so cute. so it would be so cute to customize it with like your dog's name. And this is just such a fun project. And again, it includes step-by-step instructions and comes in several sizes. It comes in a small, medium, and large. Now let's go ahead and look at that pattern. And again, so here are the beautiful, beautiful full color pictures that I was talking about. It tells you exactly all the supplies you need. And these are the full color instructions that are so helpful once you are in the middle of your pattern. I think it's great that it gives you the red dotted line to know where you're supposed to sew. So there is absolutely no mistaking anything in this pattern. It is so straightforward, so great for beginners. You guys are going to love it. And the third project is this Japanese knot bag. This one I think might be my favorite one of today. It comes in 3 sizes also, a small, medium, and a large. Show you some of the other pictures that come with it. It is such a cute bag. This also, again, has the PDF patterns. So I think these PDF patterns with the full color photos are so great for us beginners. They make it so easy to sew these patterns and to get it right on your first try. It eliminates all of the frustration. So I'm not gonna go through and show you how to print all of them, but I will show you how to print this one. Here is the pattern for the bag, and I'm just gonna use this one as an example to show you guys how to print and make sure you get this test box at exactly 1 inch that you're supposed to. So this goes for all 3 of the patterns. I'm not gonna go through each of them individually, so just know that this is how you print for all of them. You're going to, 1, make sure you have the correct printer. So whatever printer you're using, color printer, whatever, make sure you have it set to the one that you want. And then you're going to go down here to scale, and you're gonna make sure it's at 100%. Now I'm actually pretty surprised that this was already at 100%. Sometimes when I go to print, they say 92 or 97 or even sometimes 105. So just make sure this is at 100% to scale. And then when you print, this test box should be exactly 1 inch. So if you want to test it, just do 1 page and then you can print the rest, or you can go ahead and print all of them. Whatever you think, but just make sure this scale is at 100%, and that is how you print all of your patterns. So the first project we're going to make today is the Moko Studios Japanese knot bag. Now, one thing that I love about this bag is it comes in 3 different sizes. It comes in a small, a medium, and a large. We're going to be making the small size today because I have fat quarters that I want to use, and the fat quarters only work with the small size. So for the exterior lining, I'm going to be using this really pretty butterfly fabric. And then for the interior, I'm going to be using this black and white polka dot. I think these 2 are going to look great together. So if you're doing the small size, you're going to need either a 1/2 yard of each exterior and lining fabric or a fat quarter. If you're doing the medium or the large size, you will need a 1/2 yard of each lining and exterior fabric. Also going to need interfacing, either a 1/2 yard for any size, but if you're doing a small, you can use a fat quarter of that also. I have fusible iron-on interfacing. I have, of course, our pattern that we printed out, and it has the 1 inch test square box. So we have our pattern, which we will go over and cut out together here in just a minute. I have a vanishing ink marker. They have water-soluble markers, air-soluble markers, chalk, whatever you use to mark your patterns, do that. Just make sure it's, you know, something that will actually disappear. I have fabric scissors, and I have regular scissors to cut out my pattern because I do not use my fabric scissors for paper. You're gonna need some sort of ruler, either like an acrylic ruler or a retractable ruler. And then either pins or clips. I'm going to be using these clips today. And I also have my iron and my ironing board. 1 to iron on the fusible interfacing, and 2 to press the lines out of my fat quarters because they have been folded for a while and have creases on them. I also have a printout of the instructions. Now, Most of the designs that you see come with beautiful, beautiful color instructions, color pictures going step by step. Now, if you joined me for my last event, you can tell I am in a new space. My computer is on the complete other side of the room and I don't have access to it right here. It doesn't reach, so I printed out my instructions, but use an iPad, laptop, your phone, whatever, for those beautiful PDF instructions to save paper. But right now I have them printed, so it shows me everything that I need. So the first thing that we're going to do is print the pattern, which we've already done, and then we're going to cut it out and tape it together. Okay, so you can see the small pattern fit onto 2 sheets, and then I'm going to show you guys the test box right here. It's a 1-inch test box. I scaled it at 100%, as you guys saw when I went over the pattern and printed it, and this fits perfectly, so I know that the perfect size. Now the 1/4-inch seam allowance is already included in this pattern, which is really, really nice. I don't have to do any extra markings. So I'm going to take my regular scissors and cut this out, just very carefully along the lines. Now we're going to tape these 2 pieces together, matching up the stars that they gave us, matching up each side. Now if you need to, you can put something down to hold it in place while you get your tape. And then tape one side, carefully move it, and then get the other side. And then I like to do a couple on the back side just for good measure. Sometimes the patterns like to fold. So there we have it. We have our small knot bag pattern, and it tells us right on this pattern that we're going to need to cut out 6 pieces of these. 2 exterior fabric, 2 lining, and 2 interfacing. So the next step is to take our exterior fabric. Now I want the butterflies on the outside of my bag, and you can see I still need to press this. And what we're going to do is we are going to press this, get it nice and smooth, because you don't want to measure when your material is all wrinkly and creased like this, because you won't get accurate measurements. Because if I measured this now and then flattened it all out, it would give me more material than what I had originally measured. You see how that extends once you kind of flatten it out a little bit? So if I measured off of that and then ironed it, my measurements would be off. So we're going to iron it first and then cut our 2 pieces. Now what I'm going to do is, if you have 2 separate pieces, put them right side together, or if you have one large fat quarter like I do, you're going to fold it over, and we are going to place the pattern on, and this is going to ensure that both pieces mirror each other exactly. So now remember, I'm using a fat quarter and I'm using the small knot bag. If you're using the large one or the medium, make sure your pattern just fits on your fabric however you have it. So the only reason I'm able to do this is because I am using that fat quarter. So I'm going to take my air soluble pen. If you are, a little unsure about just placing your pattern on it and tracing, if you're worried about it shifting, feel free to pin it just to get it to stay in place. I'm just going to hold it right now and trace around the pattern. So now what I'm going to do is cut my fabric pieces out using my fabric scissors. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces of our bag that are the exact same size. Okay, so now is when you're going to apply that fusible interfacing. I have cut mine the same exact size as the pattern. So with interfacing, you have a rough side and a smooth side. The rough side is the side that has the adhesive on. So we're going to place that on the wrong side of the fabric. So basically the inside of the fabric. You have your right side and your wrong side. So I'm going to put it on my ironing board right here, and then I'm going to line it up. Now, if you're using a thicker fabric like a canvas or, like just anything thicker than just this regular quilter's cotton that I have, you might not need to do this. So it just really depends on what fabric you have. To make mine a little bit sturdier, I am going to use it today. So I'm just going to line it up as best I can. Now, using a pressing cloth or just another piece of fabric, I'm going to carefully lay it on top, and then I'm going to press this all over for about 10 to 15 seconds. If you have a heat press, you can do that too. but I'm just going to use this iron today, and I have it on the highest cotton setting that I have. So I'm just going to press this interfacing on and make this fabric just a little bit more sturdy for our bag. Okay, so now that we have our fusible interfacing on both sides of our exterior fabric, we're going to cut 2 pieces of our pattern out of our interior lining fabric, which is this cute black and white polka dot. So same thing, I'm going to fold it over, right sides together. And using whatever you were to mark, we're going to trace our pattern again. Okay, so now we have our 2, if I can get them apart, interior lining fabrics. For this next piece on the pattern, where we lined up our pattern, there were the 2 stars where we lined them up. Above those 2 stars are dots. Now I printed this in black and white, but in the regular pattern, if you have a color printer, these are red. I'm going to mark where these dots are on my fabric with a pen, and this is going to represent the base of the bag. So I'm basically just going to offset it just a tiny bit, and using a pen, I'm just going to mark where those are on the bag. And like I said, this is going to represent where the base of the bag is. And we will go over this more in just a bit. So I'm just going to mark just real small on my pattern right where those are. And I'm going to do that on both sides of my exterior pieces. Okay, so now we are going to lay both exterior pieces right side together, which means print side together. So we're going to line them up and match our markings where we marked where the base of the bag is. Look at that. And now we're gonna clip it in place, or use pins if that's what you prefer, but today I'm using clips. And then we're gonna do the same thing with both lining pieces. Line them up and clip them together. Now is when we are going to get our sewing machine out, and we are going to sew from one mark all the way to the other. We are not sewing the top part yet. So both pieces we're going to sew just from one mark to the other, 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let's get our machine out. One more thing is make sure you back stitch at the beginning and the end of your base points, just to make sure your stitches stay in place and your bag doesn't come undone. Now, because this is sewing on a curve, if this is something you have never done before or are not comfortable with, go as slow as you need to. There is no race. You want to make sure your bag gets done correctly, and you want to make sure you're keeping that 1/4 inch seam allowance as you go all the way around. So there is no shame in going as slow as you need to make sure you keep the correct seam allowance. Remember to, once you get to the end, pay attention to where your marking is. So I'm getting up to it, and now I'm going to back stitch. And we are done with that part. So now I'm going to lift my foot, and we have sewn the bottom of the bag. Go ahead and trim any loose thread that you have. And now we're going to do this one. And voila, both bags have been sewn around the base. Okay, and next we are going to, either using pins or clips, go on the top of the bags on both sides. So I'm going to line up my tops, and then you're just going to clip it in place. And then you're going to do the same for your lining fabric. And now we are going to sew along the top of each strap on both pieces of fabric using our 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you're going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, now we are going to take our fabric scissors, and we are going to cut really small slits around the base of our bag. This is going to help it lay flatter once we turn it inside out. Okay, so we're just going to go around the base of the bag, and make sure you do not get your stitches, but we are just going to make real small cuts right around the base. Okay, now we are going to press open the handle seams. So I'm just going to lay it on my ironing board right here, and then open them where they meet. And very carefully with my iron, flatten it out and do a good press. Like that. So we're going to do that for both straps and for both fabrics. Okay, now do not turn your iron off yet, but we can put it to the side for now. So now we are going to take the lining bag and we are going to turn it right side out very carefully. And then you are going to straighten it out as much as possible. Now we are going to insert it into the exterior lining. Now if you notice, this one is still inside out, but we are going to place this right on the inside like this. So I'm going to place it right on the inside and line up the straps, line up the bottom. Try to line up your strap seams as good as you can. Line up the edges. And you should be able to see your bag taking shape and see how it's gonna go. So now we are going to pay extra attention to the inner curve of the handles. So what we're gonna do is make sure it's lined up really well. Make sure both of the seams are lined up, and they are. And I'm actually going to flatten these out right here and clip it in place just so that my seams are exactly where I want them. And then I'm going to straighten out the inside from there. There we go. And now I'm going to straighten out my fabric on the edges as much as possible. Right there and right there. Line it up and clip it in place. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sew our 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way along just at the inside part of this handle. Now make sure when you sew along the inside that you don't sew both sides of the straps together. Make sure you have them separated. And if you need to take off some sewing machines have like a part that pulls off so that you can do sleeves and stuff. If you need to take that off so that you can slip this around, do that. That's exactly what I'm doing with this one right here. Now, same thing with this. Feel free to go as slow as you need to, especially around some of these curves like this, to make sure that you're keeping your seam allowance. Feel free to stop and adjust as needed, especially on parts like this where you have to, you know, shift the bottom and get that curve going while still maintaining, you know, your flat pieces lined up together. It can be pretty tricky, so just make sure you're going as slow as you need to. And then stop again and readjust, making sure you're not accidentally sewing the bottom. And now we are about to get back to where we started, so I'm going to go over this seam real slowly, connect it back to where we started, and back stitch again, and lift my needle and take it out. Okay, so now I'm just going to straighten it out a little bit, and now we're going to do the same thing that we did before and clip some really small notches with our scissors just around the inside, making sure to not get our stitches. This again is just going to help it lay flatter once we turn it inside out. So now we're going to reach into the open gap and flip our bag right side out. Again, just being very careful to not rip any of your stitches. Pretty soon you'll be able to see where you need to, you know, straighten out and fix and everything. And so you can see what we still have left to sew, but we are really, really close to finishing up this bag. So just straighten out your fabrics as much as you can. If you need to, use some sort of pointy tool like a chopstick or something like that to straighten it out if it's not as flat as you want. So after you have aligned your fabrics on the inside, we are going to get our iron back out and press these seams right here. So line it up as best you can, and then we are going to press. Okay, so making sure I have it flattened out exactly how I want it, we are going to press our seams together. Sometimes it's easier to work from the bottom layer instead of trying to press the top layer. So if you need to, just work from the bottom up. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. Just straightening as I rotate it. Now that we have those edges pressed out, we are going to do a top stitch just right along the inside hoop of the bag, and then after that we just have one last step. Our bag is almost done. In the instructions she does say that she likes to do a 3.5 stitch length for the outside, so that's what I'm going to do. She said it gives it a really nice finish, so I'm going to set my machine to that. So since I pressed it, I don't have to use any clips or anything, so I'm just going to start right here at the top of the long strap, and I'm just going to slide it underneath. Now she does say that she likes to go from the inside, so whichever way you find easier, it does lay flatter if you go from the inside and sew this way. So basically your bobbin thread is going to be your top thread. So if your bobbin thread isn't matching and you want it to match, right now would be a good time to change your bobbin thread. My bobbin thread is just white, so that's what's going to show up on the outside of the bag. Okay, so now we have the top stitch finished on the inside of the bag. Now all we have to do is close the outside of the bag. We have the short side right here and the long side right here. Now the instructions say to start with the long side because the short side is the hardest. So obviously it just depends on you and what you would like to do. So I'm gonna start with the long side like the instructions say. So basically what you're gonna do, you have your two sides here. You're going to fold each side in about 1/4 inch and then press it. So if it helps, what you can do is you can take your iron to flatten in your seams to make it easier to bring both sides together. So basically you're just pressing your own edge, and this is going to help tremendously bring both sides together to be able to stitch closed. So you can see that folded over real nicely like that. So I'm just going to keep going all the way to the end. Now I'm going to do the black side. Okay, so now we are going to clip our folded sides together. Clip or pin, whatever you're using. Make sure your seams line up. Now right here where they meet in the corner gets a little tricky, so just make sure you're not losing your seam allowance to be able to sew this closed. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing for this side since we're already here and already have our iron on. So now using the same 3.5 stitch length, we are going to close the outside of our bags, and then we are done, ready to see how it loops through. But first, I do want to say that this next part calls for a 3/16 seam allowance. So again, go as slow as you need to. Make sure you're getting both sides together how you're supposed to. It's very easy in tight spaces like this for one side to slip and then it doesn't sew correctly, and then you got to start over and get your seam ripper out. So go as slow as you need to close the handles of your bags. And then as you unclip and adjust, make sure your pieces are together so that you're not having to go back and fix what didn't sew. Okay, and as you get to where you started, make sure you go over it a few stitches and back stitch. And there we have one side done, and we are ready to sew our short side closed. Okay, our final back stitch. And our bag is done. We are just going to clean it up just a bit. That sewed perfect around the edges. Oh my goodness, you guys. Oops, I've got one more thread right here. Okay, so now we're gonna give our bag one last press just to clean it up, and then we will try it on. So here is our bag all complete, you guys. The butterflies and the polka dot look so cute together. I am so happy with how this turned out. I want to make this in every single size that this pattern offers. These are so cute. I'm not somebody who personally likes big bulky purses, so to have something just on my wrist, like to just go to the store, this would be absolutely perfect for somebody like me. So now to make it the knot, you take the long strap and you put it right through the small strap like that, and then you can easily just carry it on your wrist like that. You can hook it onto another bag. You could loop it onto like your suitcase or something, you know, just loop it through real quick like that. And you have the perfect little tiny purse. You can hold so many different things in here. If you used a thicker fabric, obviously you could hold heavier things. This is absolutely adorable. And just, my mind is reeling with all the different fabrics that you could use. You know, holiday fabrics. If you wanted to gift this to somebody, you know, we just had Christmas not too long ago, but if you wanted to do like a Christmas fabric and put somebody's gift in it, a gift card along with some other goodies would be really cute. I absolutely love this pattern. It was so easy to make. Very few supplies needed, and I think this is a great beginner project. I am so happy that I was able to do this in this event today, because now my mind is, like I said, just reeling with different fabric options that I can do with this. I have so much fabric and I want to make a million of these. So anyways, I could go on and on about this bag and how easy it is to make and all the different things that I want to do, but we have more patterns to do and more things to talk about. So I'm going to get cleaned up from this project and move on to the next one. So I will see you guys soon. To go along with your new purse, you might just need a new stylish piece of clothing. We're gonna check out the brand The Patterns Room by scrolling over here in the Brands tab and clicking on the Patterns Room. The Patterns Room has fun and stylish clothing patterns ranging from skirts to jackets to pants to shirts, and your new Japanese knot bag will go with any single one of them. So dress up your wardrobe today by checking out the patterns that the Patterns Room has to offer. Okay guys, this next project is going to be extremely easy. We are going to be making a pet bandana and a matching leash. So the supplies that you're going to need for this one are a yard of fabric. I'm using this really cute red, white, and blue star fabric. You are going to need 1-inch webbing. Now, in the spirit of full transparency, the pattern calls for a minimum, or suggests a minimum of 72 to 86 inches. The only webbing that I could find here locally where I am is 60 inches. So we're just gonna have a shorter leash today. So mine is 60-inch black webbing. You're going to need these metal hooks right here, which you can get just at your local big box store. And you are also going to need a collar. Now this isn't something that you make in the pattern. You pre-buy this and then slide the bandana on. So this again was just a real cheap collar that I got from my local big box store. You're going to need fusible iron-on interfacing. You're going to need your instructions, of course. Now you could either print them like I did, or you can use like your laptop or iPad or computer, whatever is close to you, to look at the beautiful color pictures that are in the PDF pattern instructions. And then you're also, of course, going to need your pattern. So along with that, you're gonna need the basics: scissors. I have scissors just for cutting out my pattern. I have fabric scissors. I have clips that I'm gonna use today instead of pins. A ruler. I have tape to tape my pattern together. And then, of course, our sewing machines, and then whatever coordinating thread you want. So those are the supplies that you're gonna need for this today. So the first thing we're gonna do is cut out our pattern. Okay, so this pattern, just like just about every pattern, has your test square. So to make sure we printed it correctly, we are going to test it right there, and that is 1 inch. So it printed perfect, exactly how we need it. So we are going to lay out our first few pieces. Now there is some stuff that we're going to have to cut off so that we can line up our pattern. So on just one side over here, I'm going to cut off the excess right outside of this bold black line. Now you could either lay out all of your pattern pieces at once or just go one at a time. They are numbered, if you can see the numbers in the page, like that. So I'm just gonna do one at a time. So we are going to line it up just like that. And then you can see there is a half circle right here. If you need to, you can use something to hold your pattern in place while you get your tape. Do that. And there we go. Now we're gonna move on to page number 3. So I'm just gonna keep doing this until my whole pattern is assembled. Okay, here our pattern is all taped. So you can see this part right here has the bandana part. And then this long part right here is the leash part that we are going to cut on the fold of our fabric. Now, obviously, we're gonna have to adjust since I could only find 60-inch webbing. So the fabric piece we cut out, we will have to adjust later because it's probably gonna be way longer than what we need. But we will work with it and adjust as we go along. So the collar that I bought from my local store is a large. So I'm gonna go off of the large pattern, which is the outside square, and that's what I'm going to cut out. Okay, when you're cutting out your pattern, you're gonna see in the corners that there is a solid line right here. We are not going to cut that out yet. You will see in your pattern when you go ahead and do that. So keep it as a square just for now. I know it gets a little confusing because the corners are a dotted line. You can see right here on the medium and the small size, we obviously cut along that one when we cut our pattern out. And you will see soon what we do with the corners. Go ahead and get our fabric. I have already cut mine to the size of the pattern, but I wanted to show you, I also already applied the iron-on interfacing. I didn't think you guys wanted to see that again since you saw it in the last pattern. So I just ironed it onto the back. So now we have a nice sturdy piece of fabric right here. And you can see it fits perfectly from the pattern right here. So the next step that we're going to do, now that we have our square piece, we are going to turn the fabric right side facing up, and we are going to place the paper pattern on top. We are going to fold along this line right here. So we're gonna fold like this. I suppose you can cut it, I guess it doesn't matter, but we're just gonna fold like that. And then same thing on this side, we're going to fold. Okay, so now that we have those folded and laying on top, what we're gonna do is we are going to mark this diagonal line right here. And I'm just going to use my air-soluble pen right here. This fades really, really fast, so I'm really not worried about it staining or anything. I can always get rid of it with some extra water if I need to. And we're gonna be sewing across it, so you're not really gonna be able to see it. So I'm going to mark it like that. So we have 2 diagonal lines on the corner. Now what we're going to do is we are going to fold the fabric wrong sides together along that line. And then we are going to clip it in place like this. And then same thing on this side, we're going to fold right on our line and clip it in place. So now it looks like this. So the next step we're going to do, we're going to get our sewing machine out and we are going to sew along this folded edge. Now I'm going to use just a regular straight stitch. It doesn't really say what type of stitch to use. So if you want to use a decorative one, I think that would be okay. I'm just going to use a regular straight stitch and then repeat that on both sides. So you can see we have a nice sewn edge along both sides right here. We are going to fold the bandana's right sides together like this. And then we are going to clip it in place. And now starting at one edge, we are going to sew all the way along this raw edge and go over here. And then this is going to give us the loop where our collar will slip through. So again, fold it in half, clipped. We are going to sew from corner, go all the way up here, 90-degree, sew all the way down. Once you get to the corner, what you can do is you can leave your needle down. My needle is in the down position. I'm going to lift up my presser foot while my needle is still down and pivot my bandana 90 degrees, drop my presser foot and keep going. Okay, so now right here at the corner, you can see there's a very sharp edge right here, and when we turn that out, it's not going to be very smooth. So we're going to take our fabric scissors and very carefully, we are going to round out this corner. Make sure you do not hit your stitches. You do not want to undo everything you just sewed. So we are basically just going to round out that corner like that. And now once we turn this inside out, it should be nice and smooth. You can also do the same thing with this bottom corner right here. I'm just going to real nicely curve it out. Now going through one of the edges, we are going to work this bandana right side out, being very careful not to rip the stitches that we just sewed. So take your time doing this. It might take a little bit of finagling. You're gonna have to just find the right groove to get this out without busting your stitches. But once you get a good chunk through, it's fairly easy to pull out. You just gotta get it started and then you can slowly pull it through. And then once you have it for the most part right side out, what you can do is you can take something like this, like a rounded edge, to help point your corners out. Chopsticks work really good. It's just gonna help you push this corner out to give you more of that bandana shape. Then once you get this all done, you can press it to flatten it out and make it look a little bit nicer. But as of right now, that is what it looks like. It has sewn great, and you can see we have our channel right here to slip our collar through. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's the collar that I have. I might need to adjust it. Oh no, actually I think that'll work. So let's see here. Let's go in through this side and slip it through. Okay, look at that. That fit absolutely perfect. This turned out so cute and it was so easy. There is plenty of room to reach the metal loop for our leash that we're gonna make here in a second. But I am so happy with this. So cute. Let's go ahead and make the leash. Okay, the first thing we are going to do for the leash is we are going to fold it wrong sides together by about a 1/2 inch. Now, if you need to, you can use your ruler to see how big 1/2 inch is. It looks like I actually folded that over a little bit too far, so use your ruler if you need to. It's a great guide for showing you exactly what to do, especially since they're clear. So that is perfect. That is a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to hold that in place while I get my clips like this. Perfect. And we are just going to clip it just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. This next step, we're going to be doing some pressing. So I have my iron warmed up, and now what we're going to do is we are going to fold one of the long edges over by 1 inch and press it. So I'm going to keep this clip on and take this one off and fold it up and then measure to see if I am right at 1 inch. And that is spot on 1 inch how I folded it. That was perfect. So I'm going to hold this in place while I get my iron right here and press. And now I can remove my clip right there. And this will help get me started. And I'm gonna do this for the whole long edge. So we have our long side done. Now I'm going to flip this around the other way. When I press seams, I like to work closest to me. You don't have to do that, that's up to you. But this side, we are going to press in by 3/4 of an inch. So we are going to fold it over and measure. And perfect, that is right at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to hold that in place while I get my iron and press. And then same thing, do that for the entire length of your leash fabric. We're going to enclose our webbing into the folds that we made. So I'm going to tuck the end in right here and just enclose it like this. Now I'm putting it right up against my press fold right there, just as an easy guide for me. If you feel the need to, you can clip it in place, but we're going to be folding over the other edge here in just a moment. So what you can do is you can fold it in and then clip it so it doesn't move while you do the rest of it. Okay, and then once you have that, remember you still have your press line right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it over again like that and then clip it into place. So now your webbing should be perfectly covered. This is what the end looks like. And we are going to fold this all the way across the entire webbing, and we are going to clip it in place with our clips right here. And we are going to go all the way the length of our webbing. Then once you get to the other end, make sure you fold it underneath your first press that went through. Sorry, trying to do this backwards. There we go, like that. And then fold it over. Like that, and there we have our end. Now what we're going to do is we are going to top stitch around the entire length of this. You can see we have our fold right here. So you could either use like a zigzag stitch or a straight stitch. A straight stitch is what I'm going to use today. But if you wanted to get fun and creative, feel free to use one of those decorative stitches. A zigzag stitch might help keep it a little sturdier. You know, like if you have a big dog, you might want something like a strong stitch. So if you want to, feel free to use whatever stitch you want. But like I said, I'm just going to use a zigzag stitch. I'm going to start at the top over here, go all the way down, and then we are going to go around all 4 sides of the giant long skinny rectangle we have here. Okay, so now we are going to cut our long threads on there. And so now we have a nice stitch all the way around our leash, holding our fabric in place. So now it's time to attach that metal hook. The clip I bought is a little on the smaller side, so it's taking me a little bit more oomph to get it in there, but there we go. So we are going to pull it through the bottom of our clip. You want to pull it through at least a 1/2 inch so you have enough room to sew this closed. So I'm going to straighten it out as much as possible. And I have mine pulled through about 1.5 inches. So I am going to take it over to my machine and just straight stitch along here to keep this hook in place. And there you have it. Now your metal hook is done and you can hook it onto your bandanas. Okay, so now on the other end of this, what you're going to do is you are going to make the handle for you to hold. So you're going to fold it over. The instructions suggest at least 5 inches. So I'm just gonna use my ruler and go across right here. And that is about 5 inches like that. So now I'm gonna hold this in place and sew this across. And there we have a nice sturdy handle for us to hold the leash. Okay guys, so taking a look at what we just made, this bandana turned out so cute. If you guys have a vinyl cutter, you can personalize it by adding your dog's name, or you could use your embroidery machine before you sew the pieces together. That would look really nice, and then you won't see the back stitches. But this is so cute. And the leash, now again, mine is on the shorter side because I couldn't find 70-inch webbing. But this is still a really good size leash. You just real easily clip it on and then you have a matching set. So while I'm getting cleaned up for our final project today, I am going to talk to you guys about a certain brand right here on the website. This brand is so cool. This brand is specifically pet products. So if you liked this project, you are gonna love these designs. So I'll see you guys in just a minute. If you liked the dog bandana and leash that we just completed together, then you are going to love the brand Pattern Dog. When you're on the main page of the website, we're gonna go up here to sewing patterns and we're just gonna click right on there. And then over here on the left, we're gonna click on the brands tab and go down to Pattern Dog. And you guys, these are absolutely adorable. Make sure that you keep your pup warm during those cold days by sewing them one of these super cute but also really functional and practical dog jumpers. There's fleece ones, there's quilted ones. This one's like a hoodie. These are so adorable. So you could even use the same fabric that you use to make your matching leash and bandana, but make sure you check out Pattern Dog on embroiderydesigns.com. Okay guys, I have been told of a great deal for you that are here with us for the event today. On the website, they offer these beginner sewing packs for you to purchase that have everything included in them that you could possibly need to get started on your sewing journey. There are 2 kits that we're going to feature today, and the first is this big Ever Sewn starter kit. Now this kit comes with so many different things. It comes with seam rippers, it comes with tailor scissors, it comes with clippers, it comes with pins. This magnetic pin catcher right here, you guys, I would not be able to function without something magnetic that held my pins. They get everywhere. You're gonna want that. There's tape measures, there's 2 different kinds of rulers. This bundle is such a great starter kit. I wish I had something like this when I first started instead of piecing everything together. So if you're new to sewing and don't know what you need, then check out this amazing bundle. Again, this is the big Ever Sewn starter kit. Now, if you are someone that knows that you mainly want to sew clothes, then you might want to check out the Ever Sewn fashion starter kit. This bundle has everything for the fashion designer inside you to get started. So eliminate the hassle of buying all your supplies individually and just get them all in one place. It makes it so much easier. This kit is made more so for fashion and tailoring and things like that. So you're gonna have a few different supplies than you would in the other bundle. So make sure you check these different bundles out. They are offering free shipping on both of these packs right now, so make sure you get it while the deal is going so you don't miss out. Okay guys, final project of this event, we are going to be making an Easter basket. Now, my favorite thing about this pattern is it comes in 2 sizes and you can customize it 2 different ways. I will show you right here the 2 different ways that you can do it. You can either do just an inside and an outside fabric, or you can do a color block fabric. And I think that is so great that you can customize it to your child or to your shop or whatever it is that you want to do with this basket. You can customize it exactly how you want it. And I love the different options. Today we're going to be making just the small reversible bag. We're not going to be doing the color block today. And so what you're going to need for this project today, you're going to need your outside lining fabric. Now, since we're doing a small bag, I can use 2 fat quarters. So I have this really cute bunny print fabric that we're gonna use. I have 2 fat quarters of it, or you can use a 1/4 yard of regular fabric if you don't have fat quarters. You're also going to need an inside lining fabric. Today, I'm going to be using white minky for that. We'll also either need 2 fat quarters or a 1/4 yard of fabric. You're going to need fabric scissors, of course, regular scissors to cut out your pattern pieces. Actually don't need tape today to cut out your pattern pieces. I'll show you here in a minute. And if you want to make your basket sturdy and stand up on its own, you're gonna need a fusible interfacing. So I have this today that we are gonna iron onto the back of our cotton fabric. You are going to need clips as you sew, and then of course your sewing machine. Okay, so here are the pattern pieces for the small bag. You can see this one says basket handle. So we are going to cut one of these, and this one we cut our fabric on the fold. This is for the small basket. We are going to cut this on the fold also. One thing that I like about this pattern, like I said, it comes with the color block. So there's actually two pieces when you print this out that gives you the option. You only cut these two pieces if you're doing the color block. I don't need these today because I'm just doing the reversible. So I only need these two pieces and the earpiece. So you can see we don't have anything to tape together today. We are just going to cut out the pieces as they are. So let's cut out the ear first. And I'm going to save these color block pieces in case I want to make one later. That way I don't have to print them out later. So we are just going to cut very carefully along the dotted lines of our pattern pieces. So there's the ear, and then it tells you right on it how many you're going to need. So we're going to need 4 of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut out my basket piece. Now it tells you right here on the pattern what to cut out. So if you are making the single fabric basket, which we're making today, there's separate instructions down here for the color block. So I'm gonna make sure to stay up here for the single fabric basket. We are going to cut 4 pieces on the fold of this fabric. We're gonna cut 2 for the outer basket and 2 for the lining. So I'm gonna cut 2 from my bunny print fabric quarters and 2 from the minky. And depending on if your fabric is multi-directional or one directional is gonna depend on how you fold this over. Mine, as you can see, my bunnies only go one direction. So I'm going to make sure that they are right side up how I'm going to want them to look on the basket. So I have them right side up. They're not upside down or anything. So I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to lay my pattern piece on it, and where it says cut on fold, that's going to lay right along my folded edge of the fabric right here. Then I'm going to take my air soluble pen and mark it, and then that is what I will cut out. There we go. Now we have one piece done. I'm going to cut 1 more out of the bunny fabric and 2 out of the minky fabric. Okay, so now you can see we have our 2 minky pieces and our 2 bunny pieces. This basket is going to be so cute, you guys. Oh my goodness. So I'm just going to set these to the side, and we are going to work on our next pattern piece. The next piece we're going to cut out is the ears. So now you could either do these all one color, you could do like a double-sided minky ear, or you could do double-sided fabric ear. I'm going to do the bunny on one side and minky on the other. So I'm going to cut 2 bunny fabrics out of the ear, and with my scrap right here, I'm able to get a piece from each side. You can see it fits perfect right there. So I'm going to cut 2 ear pieces out of the fabric and 2 ear pieces out of the minky. Okay, now one last piece that we're going to cut today, and that is the basket handle. I happen to have a scrap left over from our fat quarter that I am going to use for the handle. So I'm going to fold it in half, right sides together, and place my pattern piece on the fold, and it is just about perfect. It is so perfect, I'm not even going to mark it. I'm just going to hold it in place and cut. Okay, and there we have all of the pieces that we need. We have the basket handle, we have the inside and the outside pieces of the ear, the fabric and the minky, and we have our 4 basket pieces. So let's go ahead and start assembling. Now I should also add that these ear pieces are completely optional. You do not have to sew these in if you don't want to. If you are like me and want a sturdier basket, go ahead and iron on your interfacing now before we start sewing. So I cut 2 pieces of interfacing out of the pattern, so you can see I just folded it and cut it exactly like I did the fabric. So I'm just gonna iron these on, and then we'll put it together. I have also went ahead and put interfacing on my handle. We're not quite there yet, but I already had my iron on, so I just went ahead and did it. So what we're going to do is we are going to take both pieces of the outside of the basket, and we are going to put them right sides together, and then we are going to clip them together. I'm going to clip them on the sides and the bottom, not on the inside square that was cut out, because right now we are only going to sew the 2 edges and the bottom. So where I put my clips, I know that that's the edge that I'm sewing on. So I'm not sewing the top, and I'm not sewing the corners. Using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew this edge, back stitching at the beginning and the end, the bottom, back stitching at the beginning and the end, and the other edge of the basket, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Okay, so you can see I have that sewn together, but now you can see the top is open and so are these bottom corners right here. What we are going to do now is we are going to take the corners and you're going to basically fold it in half to where this sewn seam and this sewn seam kiss together. They meet in the middle, and then we are going to pin it closed. I like to try to flatten out the seams as much as possible to reduce bulkiness. So we are going to fit it together like that, and then make sure everything is even and clip it in place, and then clip in place on this side. So this is going to be the corner of our basket. So I'll show you that again up close. So we have the corner of the basket here. You're going to take it, fold it in half this way, and bring the seams in the middle together. And then these are what I like to fold open and sew open so that it reduces the bulkiness. Line them up and clip. And then we are going to straighten out these ends and clip on the end like that. And now we are going to sew about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Perfect, and that is a perfect corner of our basket. So now I'm going to do the other side. So now you can see I'm going to keep it inside out for now because there are still the handle and the ears that we need to attach while it's inside out. So I'm not going to flip it out just yet, but you can see it's already taking shape. So the next thing we're going to do is the handle. So grab your handle piece. What we're going to do is we are going to take our handle piece and we are going to fold it in half, wrong sides together, so your print is on the outside. And once we have it folded in half, we are going to press it together with our iron to really keep that crease there. Now we're going to unfold that, and you can see it still keeps this nice crease mark. Now we are going to take the bottom and fold it into our crease mark and press. Okay, and now we're going to take the top side and fold it down to where it meets the crease as well, and then press the top side. Okay, so now you can see we have a nice little tri-fold going. We have the top folded in and the bottom folded in. We are going to fold it in half one more time right at the first crease that we did, and then we are going to press. Now, if you want to, before you sew it, you can pin or clip this in place, but the press keeps it pretty flat, so I don't think I need any extra stability. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sew this handle closed. So now with this handle, we have a very small seam allowance. It calls for a 1/8 inch seam allowance going down one side, and then you stop, and then you go down the other side, and that's going to give you a real seamless uniform strap with stitching on both sides. So it doesn't look like you're just trying to sew one side closed. It looks like both sides are completely uniform. So pay attention to your 1/8 inch seam allowance. Like I said in the other patterns, go as slow as you need to make sure you don't run off of the strap or go off with your stitches or anything like that. Go as slow as you need to, and don't forget to backstitch. Okay, so now here is the strap and what it looks like. You can see it is perfectly sewn together, and it looks super nice and clean with the stitching on both sides holding it together. Now we are going to attach our handle to our basket. What you're going to do, like I said, you're going to keep your basket inside out like this. So you are going to attach the raw edge to the inside of your basket like this. You're going to have both raw edges touching each other, and then you are going to clip it in place. Now this side seam, go ahead and flatten that out if you need to. Go ahead and center that seam right on the where you think is center of your strap right here. Don't worry about this raw edge. You're not going to be able to see it once we sew. So we are going to go ahead and pin that in place, and then we're going to do the same thing for the other side right here. We are going to center that seam on the strap and clip it in place. So now your handle looks like it's on the inside of the basket like that, just kind of draped down inside of it. Now staying close to the edge, you're gonna go ahead and sew that on. So there we have it. You can see it is sewn in place. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side. Okay, and there we have it. The handle is sewn on, but I'm going to keep that draped on the inside of the fabric, and next is the ears. So now we're going to work on the ears. So what we're going to do is we are going to pin right sides together, and we are only going to pin the outside. We are not going to pin the bottom part right here. We're going to leave that as just a raw edge. So we're going to pin and clip both ears in place and then sew all the way around the ears. Okay, now here are our 2 ear pieces ready to go. So now, just like we did with the Japanese knot bag earlier, we're going to take our scissors and we are going to make small slits around the outside of our stitches, and that's just going to help this look smoother once we turn it right side out. So again, just be very careful that you do not cut your stitches that you just sewed. Now, very carefully, we are going to turn these right side out. So be very careful that you don't rip the stitches that you just sewed right at the beginning and the end, and then just work its way through slowly. Now use that chopstick or rounded edge tool that you have to help straighten out the ears. If you want to use your iron to press it flat, you can. If you're using Minky like I am, be very careful because Minky does not like heat. So just be very, very careful with that. Make sure your iron doesn't actually touch the Minky and that it's just touching the cotton fabric. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to take our ears and we are going to fold them together at the bottom, just slightly like that. Slightly like that to make a cute little bunny ear, and then we're going to take it over to our machine and we're just going to sew as close to the bottom as we can while getting a good stitch. This is what your ears should look like. It should have a nice little fold at the bottom and give you a nice ear shape. So on our bag, we are going to mark in 2 inches from the side seam, and that's where we're going to place our ear. So now she has included on the pattern 3 inches for the large basket, 2 inches for the small basket. So you could either use a clear acrylic ruler or you can use the mark on your pattern. So we are going to place that pattern right along the seam of our bag, and then taking a pen or a pin or whatever you want to use to mark, we are going to mark that 2-inch mark. So I'm going to mark right there, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, mark 2 inches. Now you're going to take your bunny ear and you are going to put it on the inside of your basket. Now wherever you have your marking, that's obviously where you're going to put your ear. And whichever side of your ear that you want on the outside is going to face you inside the basket. So if I want my print on the outside, I'm going to make sure as I put it in the basket, it's facing me. So that way when we turn it right side out, it will be on the outside of the basket. I'm not even gonna pin it in place. I'm just gonna sew it right where I have it. And we're just going to sew just as close to the edge as we can get. And now we are going to do the same thing with the other ear. Put it right on your marking and then sew it in place. So now you can see we have our ears on the inside of our basket. Now for the other lining piece of your basket, you could have put this together and assembled it when you did the outside piece. I haven't done it yet. I've just been going step by step with the instructions that they have. So we're going to do it now. We are going to put right sides together just like we did the other lining pieces. And then we are going to clip them in place and sew along the sides and the bottom, and again, not the inside corner or at the top. Now, if you're using Minky like I am, Minky likes to slip and slide a lot, especially if you're doing Minky on Minky. So don't be afraid to use extra pins or extra clips or anything to keep it in place. Usually when I sew with Minky, I use a walking foot, but I'm not going to change everything on my machine just for a couple stitches. So, but just know that if you're having issues with Minky, try a walking foot and try extra pins and security. I'm going to go ahead and sew this using my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, same with the other lining fabric, we are going to bring the ends together, and this is going to give us the bottom corner of our basket. So just meet those middle seams and then sew across. Okay, so now here we have the Minky lining of our bag. Now for this one, I'm going to flip it right side out. So straighten out those corners and then get your bag going. Now this Minky is a little flimsy. If you had fleece interfacing, that would have been good for for on the other side of this. But as of right now, I don't have any, so we're just gonna go ahead and keep with the interfacing that we have on here and just use that for the sturdiness of our bag. We're gonna take the outside lining of our bag and kind of, prop it open a little bit. And now the minky side of our bag, we are going to put on the inside. Again, make sure your right side is facing out. And what we're going to do is we are going to match up the seams. So take one seam and match it up with the center of your handle and the seam over here and clip it in place. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side, matching up the seams. And then we are going to go around the whole basket, pinning it in place, making sure all of our fabric is even together. Now there are some people that like cut slits into quarters and line it up that way. I didn't do that today because we just made the small basket, so it's a little bit easier to see where you're at. So we're just gonna go around the whole basket. So now what I'm going to do, now that I have it clipped all the way around, on this side of the basket, I don't have the ears pinned to the inside. So right over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 clips right next to each other. And this is just, you could even do 4, you could do however many you want to remind yourself that you need to leave an opening to be able to turn your basket right side out. So I'm just going to keep that right there to remind me that I need to stop before and stop after, and then this will be where I turn my basket out. So now that we have it pinned all the way around, we are going to sew all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I know I've said this a bunch of times, but again, just go as slow as you need to adjust your fabric and make sure that your 2 sides aren't slipping away from each other, especially if you're using a minky like I am. It's very easy for it to slip out of place. So if you need to readjust, make sure you do so. Now we are going to pull our basket right side out using the opening that we left. Now be very careful again that you don't rip your stitches or anything like that, and be very careful as you get the handle and the ears out. Now we're going to close the opening that's left. You guys can see there's still a good size opening. So what we're going to do is we are just going to flatten it out and then clip it closed. You can see as you put your fingers in it, it naturally creases to what you already have folded and pressed in there. So we are going to just push it to the inside and then clip it closed. Now we are going to top stitch all the way around the top rim of our basket, and we are going to just try to stay as close to the edge as possible. Usually about 1/8 of an inch is what you want. If you find that your minky keeps folding over, feel free to add a clip to keep it straight as you go, because sometimes the minky can go like this, so you don't want to sew it like that. You want to make sure both sides are pushed down real nice. So we can just go ahead and add clips all the way around. I'm going to remember where my opening is because I have a whole bunch of clips placed close together right there. So I'm going to start right here at my opening, sew that closed first, and then go all the way around. Okay, and now that top stitch is done, you guys, we are done with our basket. You can see I have the print on the outside of the ears, so those are really cute. You can see my basket isn't the sturdiest because I only have the interfacing on the one side. So if you use more interfacing, obviously it will be sturdier, or if you use like a fleece interfacing, this is your basket. Customize it however you want. Once there's stuff in here, it's gonna sit up on its own just fine. You can bring the ears closer together if you want them closer together. If you don't want them to be seen, you can either tuck them to the inside or not put them in there at all. You can do the large color block basket, or even if you have an embroidery machine like I do, or if you have a vinyl cutter, you can add a name to this, or you can even just add from the Easter Bunny, or whatever it is. You can customize it however you want. You can use boy print fabrics, girl print fabrics. This can be customized so many different ways. And even if you just need a regular basket, not even for Easter, just use a different type of fabric and not, and obviously Easter fabric. Use a sports fabric, just holiday fabric like Christmas. This would make a great Christmas basket for a gift, and then just add tissue paper, and it's a reusable basket that's not just gonna get thrown in the trash, or a keepsake, or anything like that. This can be anything you want it to be. I absolutely love how this turned out. I think it is so cute. Easter baskets aren't the only thing that the Aloha Sewing Company has patterns for. If you enjoyed that project and are looking for something else to create, check out the insane variety of PDF sewing patterns that they have, many of them being top sellers. We're gonna go over here and filter by brand again, and it's gonna show us everything that the Aloha Sewing Company has to offer. You guys, most of these are top sellers. This wheelchair caddy, the Easter baskets that we do today. Oh, this one actually has fillable Easter eggs, these adorable baby and toddler shoes, mouse ears, ornaments, stockings, dresses, gibble runners, bunnies, pacifier clips. You guys, this company has a pattern for just about anything you might need to create. And a lot of them are so fun and creative and would be great for kids or great for baby shower gifts. So make sure you check out the Aloha Sewing Company. Thank you guys so much for joining me for today's event. I had so much fun stitching these patterns out with you guys. Don't forget to use my code Kayla23 for 50% off select patterns, and check out down below. I think there might be some other stuff linked down below, so make sure you check that out. And I, again, had so much fun with you guys. If you guys try some of these patterns, let me know. Tag me on Instagram. I would love to see what you guys made and your fabric choices. So again, I just thank you for having me, and I will see you next time.